you're watching this, it's because you have joined the Corporate Nomad Accelerator. So congratulations, you're in the right place because this is the place for location freedom seekers. Now, who am I? Why am I even qualified to talk about this? Me, Mateo, I was a corporate consultant from 2020 to 2022. And within that role, within my first 5 months working corporate, fresh out of college, I successfully negotiated for remote work. I did it, I know it works, and I've used the exact same framework for other people close to me who worked at Accenture, Ernst & Young, Booz Allen Hamilton, and other firms like that. I have helped them leave the office for good, right? So me personally, I was commuting 2 hours to my office in DC and 2 hours back, 4 hours every workday, 20 hours a week just gone. Did not want to do that anymore. So I actually studied and I was obsessed with negotiation. I learned everything I could about negotiation, identifying and applying leverage, and all this I used personally on me and other people, so I know it works. The neat thing is that what I did it in January of 2020, meaning this is pre-COVID, meaning my framework is not at all affected by current events or anything. It just works because it uses human psychology, it uses everything you need to actually get what you want, and it's a win-win. So for all calendar year 2020, I lived in Denver, Colorado, and all calendar year 2021, I lived in Kailua, Hawaii. I know this works. And even if you want to ask your boss to work remotely from Hawaii, which is probably the hardest ask for a US-based worker, I am living proof that it's possible, right? So I can help you with that. Also, it felt really wrong for me to sit on this information because I know it works. And now that I have my own business, I'm just gonna keep it to myself. That felt wrong. So I wanna help liberate as many people as I can from their offices and from their commutes. Within these last 2 years, 2022 to 2024, I have been a business owner, right? I run an AI automation agency known as Fallacies. And with Fallacies, I actually learned a lot about business. But what I kept seeing online on social media, I'm sure you guys are seeing it too, is all these people constantly shitting on wages, right? People who work for a wage, right? Now, I will say, if you truly want time freedom, we'll get to that in the next module, you do need to have some equity, build your own thing. I believe that's true. But in the interim, if you worked your ass off to get to college, or you worked your ass off to get through those interviews and land a job, I'm telling you, because I lived it myself, you are not exempt from the ability to live a location-free life. You can have location freedom, I guarantee it. I know it's possible because I did it and I personally used my system for other people to do it as well. So if you're in corporate, I trust in you, I believe in you. I wanna help as many of you as possible to stop paying super high rent just to live in downtown DC, LA, New York City. I've spoken to so many of you on the phone and you're paying upwards of $2K a month in rent just to live someplace close to your office. It's not right, it's not necessary, and I'm here to help you get out of it. So welcome to the Corporate Nomad Accelerator. Now, to get results in anything in life, you need to have a GPS, you need to have clarity, right? So let me explain the 3 types of freedom there are, right? There's location freedom, time freedom, and financial freedom. Now, the way I've seen it in my life and the people around me, people I interact with, the first domino to fall is location freedom. This is the first freedom most people can realistically achieve. And that's the one I'm tackling with CNA, right? With location freedom, you can do it through 2 major avenues. The first is corporate workers, 9 to 5 people. So if you're working a 9 to 5, this is for you. You can get location freedom by negotiating for remote work, okay? Now, after that, you can get time freedom. Time freedom is a bit more difficult, but in this day and age, the worst thing you can do is to trade your hours for money because then you're locked. There's only 24 hours in a day and your time is only limited, right? So that's the worst trade-off of all time. So how do we get to here? Technically, this is advanced. I'm only focusing on this, but I just want to help as many people as possible. You want to go digital, right? So by having digital products, things online that are running evergreen in the background, whatever time zone people are in, they can consume your stuff. That is going to print money for you, right? And you don't have to trade your time for money. That's just one thing you can do. The other thing, I got this from Cody Sanchez, by the way, is equity. If you get equity in a business, then again, it's gonna grow and it does not require you to trade your time for that increase in profits and revenue, right? So you don't have to do that. These are the 2 major functions of time freedom, right? Now, financial freedom, That's the big one. Everyone wants that, right? There's ton of different ways to get there. So I'm not gonna focus on that. If you guys wanna get some course that teaches you on that, I'm not gonna lie to you and pretend I'm some kind of guru. There's different avenues to get there, but I just wanted you to visually see what happens. So the first domino to fall is location freedom. You get that done, and then this is gonna cause a domino effect with the other freedoms, because now you're saving so much time, even more time in exchange for your dollars, and then you can have and see the snowball effect that everyone wants, which is the financial freedom. So just wanted to get that clarity out of the way. Now, there are 3 major types of digital nomads. You've heard that phrase over and over again. A digital nomad is basically someone who can work with Wi-Fi. If they have Wi-Fi connection, they can work from anywhere in the world. Now, I built a digital nomad accelerator, and I had webinars, I was talking to a bunch of people, but I wasn't really connecting with the type of people I would like to serve. And so I just wanna break down who exactly I'm serving. These are the 3 different types of digital nomads. My program is not for everybody. So my program is directly addressed to the corporate nomads, people who are working a 9 to 5, right? And they either wanna get fully remote work or they wanna get some kind of hybrid approach. I can help you, right? The other types of people, this is me currently right now, are remote business owners. They're digital nomads. All they need is their connections to the laptop. All of last year, I was working from Europe. I was in Switzerland, I was in London. You guys saw me do that. That is in this functionality. It's totally doable. The third type of digital nomad, you'll see a lot of this in Bali and Southeast Asia, are freelancers, right? They work on a contract type basis. They get a lot of Fiverr opportunities, Upwork, that kind of deal. Or maybe they were in an office. I've met a lot of middle managers who are just burnt out, and to sustain themselves, aside from their savings, they do some gigs here and there, right? So I'm not gonna be addressing these people or these people. I am going to be addressing corporate nomads. And if you're in that boat, then tune in, because the rest of these videos are going to be super helpful for you to attain and keep that remote work agreement. Within the corporate nomad umbrella, I want to address 2 types of people that I'm going to help. So both of them work a 9 to 5. However, one of them is going to want to use their extra time saved up from no longer commuting to work on what's known as their 5 to 9, right? This is their side gig, maybe a side business, whatever they want to do to build more digital money, which I talk about later. It's really helpful. This is one type of person. The other type of person is just use that extra time to do whatever they want. So me, in 2020 and 2021, I used that extra time to explore national parks. I have explored 33 of our 63 national parks. I went to a bunch of states. That's what I did, right? Some people are going to want to use that extra time to build a business. Some people are going to use that extra time to just explore, spend time with their families, whatever it is. However, it's all under the 9 to 5 umbrella. That's who I'm helping. Those are the corporate nomads and the types of avatars I'm called to serve. Now, the very first place I would love to start, when my team will help you, is to look at your employee handbook. When you were onboarded, you were given an employee handbook, right, by law. And in there, we're gonna see if there are any pre-existing remote work clauses. Now, don't get nervous, because some people I've helped, they didn't have anything about remote work in their handbook. And guess what? That's not a bad thing. That's actually a really good thing, because we can put in our own language in there, okay? Now, so that's where we're gonna start. Now, another helpful thing is that if there have been other coworkers within your firm who have worked remotely, then we can use those to build case studies, right? We're gonna build a bunch of case studies, not just within your firm, which is gonna be very helpful, but also within your industry. We're gonna get into industries in the next module, but the whole point here is we're gonna study your firm, we're gonna study firms like yours, and then we're gonna see how we can pack our offer, our pitch, with a bunch of case studies of people who have successfully negotiated for remote work. And it's gonna take all the guesswork out of it. So the first thing is we're gonna look more on the legal side. We're gonna see what's already existing there with that employee handbook. And then we're gonna look at the surrounding aspects, the moving parts within your firm and also within your market. So we need to start with the research there. And again, no worries if there is nothing yet in place, because we are going to force one into existence. So we're also gonna look at other aspects of much needed research. What we're gonna focus on here is industry research, right? We're gonna take a more high level approach and view your industry and whether or not it is remote work friendly. Now, what I've seen after speaking with a bunch of HR representatives and middle managers and a bunch of employees, I found what tends to be the most remote work friendly industries are, first, as what I was, is consulting. And consulting also includes other professional services, right? You can do a bunch of different types of consulting, right? Now, the second one, super remote work friendly, is tech. So if you're in development, if you're a developer, or if you're a program manager, product manager, that is super remote work friendly. The third are creatives. So if you're a designer, graphic designer, any kind of designer, content creator, very remote work friendly, all right? Now, the fourth are my sales guys and marketing people. Also, very remote work friendly, and I did high ticket sales. Shout out to Chet Hanks, that was the first person I ever sold for. And so this is very remote work friendly. And then there's a fifth kind of one. Some financial roles are remote work friendly. So what I found, financial, is that if you're in IB banking or some PE people, like it's a bit tough. You might have to be on site. But if you're in financial planning or something like that, like still kind of like a consulting type role, then you can still really support your clients remotely. That's what I found from speaking with a lot of people. And so this, if you're in one of these industries, it's very likely it's not going to be swimming against the current so much if you're in these industries and you want to ask for remote work. It's totally doable. Now, aside from the industry itself, some other factors to consider is your firm's tech infrastructure. So if it has the bandwidth, if it has the cloud space, if it has all the tools, the infrastructure needed to support remote work, that is something we need to determine first and foremost. The second thing is regulatory compliance. So I was a government contractor also. So within my consulting role, I had government contracts I was in charge of. Shout out IRS. And so I had a security clearance. And with that, it made traveling a little bit hard, but luckily I was within the United States and it was totally doable, totally legal. And there's certain things you need to keep in consideration. So again, I was working with a security clearance, not the easiest thing in the world, but it's doable, right? But you need to figure out what kind of regulatory compliance issues might arise, and then we have to nip those in the bud or at least address them before HR does, right? And when we get into the objection handling section of this video modules, you'll see how important it is to race ahead and jump at objections and myths before they even enter your HR or managers or boss's minds, right? So keep these in mind. Another really cool thing is that within our Discord group, I have included a role functionality. So if you are in a certain geolocation or if you're in a certain industry, you just have to react to that message. You're gonna see it as soon as you join the Discord, and then you're gonna have an invitation to a brand new Discord channel. And then when you react to, let's say I live in Europe, then you're gonna have a Europe chat open up. And let's say I'm in tech, you're gonna have the tech channel open up. And now you can talk to a bunch of people who are also in Europe and also in tech. So that's the functionality we have with Discord. I hope you take full advantage of it and connect with people. These are the actual physical/digital items that my team will give to you for you to successfully negotiate for remote work. The first are our scripts. I'm gonna call them our power scripts because they have worked, again, not just for me, but for multiple other people. And again, these worked pre-COVID, so I know they're solid, they're rock solid. Now, there's different ways to negotiate, which we'll get into later, but sometimes you're gonna have to meet in person, sometimes over the phone, sometimes in email. Luckily for you, I've experienced all of these and I use them within my ask, so we can show you step by step exactly what to say and who to say it to. So you're gonna get the power scripts. Any of you guys with experience in sales knows the power of tone, of conviction, how to say it, when to say it, how to time it, how to frame it. All that is included here, so don't worry. Another really key thing I wanted to do for the scripts and that you'll receive is that you will have complete access to me. Say you get an email from your manager or some follow-up from your boss and you're like, Mateo, how do I react to this? I'm not sure what to say. He says that call me back within an hour. Show me those emails, show me those texts, and I will help you respond to them, okay? Because I know exactly what works, I know how these people think, and we're gonna get you across the finish line. So this is a great place to start with these power scripts. You're gonna know exactly what to say, who to say it to, and you're no longer just walking in the dark by yourself. The other deliverable you're gonna receive as soon as you start working with me is your custom flowchart. So this is going to be your roadmap. to success. This is gonna show you 4 weeks before your ask, 2 weeks before your ask, and during the pitch, right? And what to do afterwards. It's broken down with swim lanes, and it shows exactly who you need to talk to and what to say. So the scripts by themselves are really powerful, but with the flow chart as a supplement to that is gonna really put everything in overdrive, right? So you also are gonna see how much of the process is done for you. So we're gonna identify how many managers you have, what kind of roles do they really have, who is the decision maker, 2 weeks out, who should I talk to? And all that is gonna be done for you with the flow charts, and that's gonna be delivered for you, custom for your situation. My team and I are gonna use our experience to navigate the minefield for you to maximize the most success. So that way you're no longer guessing, you're gonna know exactly where to step and how, what not to say, what to double down on. All that is gonna be addressed in both the flowchart and the power scripts. Now, if you've ever been fortunate enough not to hear of a PIP before, congratulations. But a PIP is a dirty HR tool they use when they've already decided to fire you. So a PIP stands for a performance improvement plan. And this is something that HR gives people right before they're gonna fire them. So a typical traditional PIP is full of daily tasks and a bunch of loopholes you have to jump through. It is built to fail. It is designed for you to fail. And the reason they do that is when you obviously underperform under the traditional PIP, they now have the pretext to fire you. It's a very dirty trick, I know, but this is what they do. So you gotta prepare for it. The way we address that is that before you even ask for a remote, when you're still in good standing, we are gonna design what I call a faux PIP, a fake PIP, right? So it's gonna have all the good elements of a PIP, which are the KPIs, and we're gonna identify for you the key performance metrics that your boss actually cares about. If you're in marketing, click-through rate. If you're in sales, it's closing rate. If you're in a developer, maybe the amount of user stories you're writing within a week, right? We're gonna figure out exactly what your maintenance level metrics are, and we're gonna improve it by 20%. I'll show you in a second what I mean. But we're gonna identify these KPIs, and we're gonna build a bunch of more things stacked into this PIP so that when you approach HR, they don't have to do any heavy lifting. So we're gonna build such a beautiful faux PIP that it looks like a PIP, it looks like you're giving yourself homework, which puts HR and the C-suite a little bit at ease because they don't have to build that for you. But it's actually really good. It's a win-win because if you actually deliver on this, which you should, you're gonna be a model example employee and you're actually gonna open up the floodgates for more of your coworkers to work remote. Now, there's a catch there. That might be something that your boss is a little bit fearful of, but don't worry, we're gonna address those two things right now. So one of the major concerns your employer is gonna say to you, he may or may not say this to you, but this is one of his two major concerns, is employee entitlement. So employee entitlement means that once people see you working remote, the slacker at the end of the team, he's gonna be like, whoa, well, how come I don't get to work remote? I wanna work remote. So the way we address employee entitlement is to have specific metrics, which you are doing with the PIP. And obviously, if slackers or people who don't deserve remote work aren't meeting that expectation, then they simply don't get remote work, right? So you're gonna work hand in hand with HR to come up with a perfect PIP. We're gonna do most of the heavy lifting for you and for them, but this is going to address that employee entitlement. Not everyone's gonna get it, and honestly, they shouldn't. The second major concern most employers have is your performance. Performance. Okay, so this is going to be directly addressed with the KPIs. And again, we're gonna identify the key performance indicators for your industry and your role, and also this is where all that marketing information came in, all that market research. This is all gonna be collected, and we're gonna funnel all that into this faux PIP so that it's absolutely bulletproof. Your boss, your HR lady, they're all gonna feel stupid saying no, because if you follow through with your faux PIP, your firm can only win. And honestly, you can win too because you get what you want, which is remote work. So this is perfect, right? True business is a win-win, and we're gonna frame it like that because it is. We're not gonna lie, lying gets you nowhere. This is the only way to truly get what you want and for them to get what they want too. Now, before we get to the pitch itself, I want you to use logic and critical reasoning to see what we're doing, right? Now, any lawyers in here, you're gonna enjoy this, is from the LSATs, but any conclusion has to be supported by two premises, right? You have premises, the conclusion could be in the middle, wherever, it doesn't matter. But the premises support the conclusion. Now, you can have a valid argument, and all that means is that this premise and this premise support this conclusion, okay? However, you can have a valid argument, but it's not sound. What does that mean? A sound argument is when you have, again, premises supporting the conclusion, but these premises are actually true, leading to a true conclusion. Technically, these premises don't have to be true, but as long as they're supporting this, then it's valid, right? All sound arguments are valid, not all valid arguments are sound. Now, obviously, you don't want to talk like this to your HR or your boss. You're going to feel dumb. You're going to feel like you're being patronizing, which you are. Don't do that. But I want you to understand that when they start talking about all these myths of remote work, these are a bunch of fake premises, because we're going to break it down later. It's so true. When you have access to remote work and remote workers, you're collecting from a global or at least a national talent pool. So if they are putting a ceiling on their own growth, you need to show them. You need to be very emotionally intelligent. You need to be very calm and collected, stoic. But you do need to show them, hey, your argument is valid. Remote work, it's concerning to you, I understand, but your premises are false. I can see how you got to that conclusion, but your premises are false. They're not true. Let me show you the truth. And we can only win because we have the truth on our side. The truth is that is a myth. That premise is actually a myth. This is the real premise. This is what remote work actually does for a firm. This is what remote work does for employee efficiency, employee happiness, right? Output, all that. So this is what you want to show. You want to show the sound argument of remote work, and you don't want to be caught up in this. And the way we do that is by addressing the objections. So that's what's next. A quick little acronym here for you to remember. The main point is for you to help HR help you, or H3Y, right? Help HR help you. You want to view them as a helper, as an accomplice in this mission, because it's going to help grow the firm and you and your development, and your productivity, and your happiness, right? A happy workforce is a happy firm. So H3Y, help HR help you, okay? And you want to view it as a team. You're not conspiring against them. You're not trying to mog them. You're actually trying to help each other. I want to be completely transparent with you. I snuck into a university campus to get access to these gigantic whiteboards. So I was just kicked out of a class. I was going to start to do the other thing. I am sorry. No, it's okay. We're in a new space right now. This is the pitch. This is where you actually take all that we built and you apply it, right? So there are two main approaches to do this. We're going to start with the top-down approach because that is what I did. So with the top-down approach, you're going to go directly to the final decision maker, or at least the ones who have more weight. So if it's addressing the entire board or a few really high up level managers, sometimes, depending on the size of your firm, you don't actually have access to the final decision maker. That's fine, but go as high as you can. And then when you get the green light from them, then you can move down and tell your direct manager, right? And people who you actually directly report to. So this is the top-down approach. This is what I used. Now, luckily for me, I worked at a small to medium-sized firm in DC. So I actually had a really good relationship with the CEO and COO. They were actually both brothers. And so when I gave them my PIP, I gave them my pitch, I addressed all their objections, right? I did all that to them. I got approval, and then it was really easy to just somewhat of like a matter-of-factly tell my direct manager, hey, by the way, this is happening. I'm moving to Denver at the end of this week. That's actually how it was. So when it's top heavy like this, it's much easier to get the yes, but I just wanted you to visualize that. That is the top-down approach. And now we're gonna discuss the bottom-up approach. This is the approach that actually has been used more often within my circle. Most people do this. So they go talk to their direct managers and coworkers, people down here, and then they use their support to convince leadership, all right? So I've seen this work more often. So if you have a strong rapport with people down here, then it's more likely you're going to find success doing this approach. If you have any sort of built rapport with people in leadership, then you're going to do the top-down approach. All right, so for bottom-up, there are a few key things I want you to do. I want you to keep in mind that HR is in a somewhat middle ground here. They are the liaison between both of these parties, right? So HR is in this weird kind of middle ground here, right? Who do you go to? When do you include HR? All those questions I'll help you address later on. But HR, the way I've seen it and I've observed it, they tend to be more buddy-buddy with leadership. So what does that mean? Even if you're in the bottom-up approach, if you're in this situation, if you have HR on your side, then you have a little bit of both approaches going on at the same time. If it's purely just bottom-up, It's totally doable. But if you manage to approach HR, and I would suggest you approach HR second. So you do management first, HR second, and then when you have both of their approvals, then you take it to leadership. That is a powerful knockout punch. Again, I'll reiterate here, you want to help HR help you. So if you know that their vote is weighted, then you want to get them on your side as soon as possible. So if you don't have them on your side, it's a bit of a heavier push. It's not impossible. I've seen it done. It's fine. But if you can get support from HR, then you're going to get a much higher chance of getting approved. And again, this is if you don't have the rapport you want with leadership, get both of their approvals. Now, what's absolutely crucial for really nailing your pitch is to include actual relevant case studies, both in your market, your industry, and your firm if possible. So we're going to use case studies of people who have actually done this and done this well to show them the actual increase in productivity that remote work provides. Also, the improvement of work-life balance, if that's important to them. Most people don't really care. But if you can show that, hey, I'm going to be a much more productive worker, a happier worker, better father, all this stuff, it makes for a stronger argument, right? This is much stronger than this. And then you can show an increase in team collaborations. What tends to happen when I would go into the office is that I would fucking grind, right? I would just put in, like, first month, I would just work a lot. And then I realized that my pay isn't changing, whatever. And then slowly work efficiency goes down because they see me there. I'm making all the jokes. I'm doing all the water cooler talk. I feel like my effort, my presence there can be mitigated by non-work related things, which hurts the firm, right? So what you want to do is show them, hey, by being remote, I have to put in more Slack messages, more team messages. I have to have a much stronger virtual presence. And by having virtual presence means it begets more work because everything that I do with my laptop has to go through the other side and has to be seen by others, right? No longer is my chats or my like physical in-office type work. That's not real productive work. That's just being human, being social, right? Now, when you take that away, all you're left with is actual productive work because I'm not going to send memes via Microsoft Teams. I'm not going to talk shit and talk jokes. I'm not going to do any of that stuff while I'm remote. Meaning everything I do, my entire presence now, my entire work presence is digital, meaning it has to be productive. So you want to show them an increase in Slack notifications, an increase in emails, a reduction rather in your response time. You want to do all of these virtual checks to show them that like, hey, when I go remote, there's going to be an increase in team collaboration because they has to, right? The other thing is you want to show a decrease in security concerns. Now, my firm was kind of in the IT space, right? So we had like a few IT people and they were a bit concerned about like, all right, if you're going to go to Denver or if you're going to go to Hawaii, what are the risks there, right? There were none. But you want to be able to show other people who have done that before and really nip that in the bud that, hey, this is a non-issue, calm down, take it easy. This is an example of people who have worked remote. You know, one of the people I actually helped, he managed to successfully negotiate for a 30-day stay in Puerto Rico, right? And he realized after like 20 days, he didn't want to stay there long term, but 30 days was enough. And so you can do that. And his IT person was completely relaxed because we showed them, hey, this is totally doable. It's not out of network. This is totally legal, all this stuff. You want to address those security concerns and then a lot of it dies down. So these are some key components to keep in mind as we craft your pitch together. We're going to have your input and we're going to build the key pitch that works every time. So first thing is we're going to look at past successes, whether within your firm or within your industry. We're going to look at past success stories. We're going to build those case studies and we're going to pack it into the pitch, right? The second thing, we're going to get any positive feedback directly about you, your impact and how that has affected the firm, and then collect any feedback. We're going to scrape your emails. We're going to look back and try to gather as much evidence as possible that you are an effective worker and that you've had a positive impact on your firm, right? You want to make it, if they want to get rid of you, you need to show them how much that would hurt the firm, that you're actually a value add. Next thing we're going to show them is your increased responsibilities. Since you got in, have you taken on more of a workload? Have you taken on more tasks? Typically, a lot of employers do this sneakily. They will add more to your plate way beyond the scope of your job and your role, and it doesn't reflect in a salary increase. Everyone knows about that, right? You have more responsibilities, but you have the same salary. Now, that is unfair, whatever. But you can use that to your advantage. We're not gonna complain, but we're just gonna show them, hey, by the way, I signed on as a business analyst. I signed on as a senior developer. I signed on as a program manager. And my responsibilities were to do X, Y, and Z. I have been doing A, B, and C as well. And not only that, I've been meeting and exceeding expectations, right? Show them that. It gets them subliminally in the hot seat, showing that, oh yeah, they've been doing a lot more than we asked, and we haven't really reflected that in any pay or anything like that. But you can just show them. You're not bitching. You're just telling them, hey, I can handle a big workload. This is what I've done. You kind of owe me one. Now, that kind of ties into the fourth point that we're going to really weave into the pitch is your adaptability. If you are not able to show past success with your adaptability, whether they said, hey, client's not happy and we need to redo this entire pitch deck in the next 3 hours, right? If you haven't showed that you are adaptable, that you're able to adapt to new stimulus, new criteria, new problems, then it's gonna be really hard to prove to your employer that you are gonna be able to handle remote work. So we're gonna look at all these 4 criteria and we're gonna weave them into your pitch to show them that, hey, you're standing on rock solid ground when you're asking for this. You can handle it. All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes, objection handling, right? I love this stuff. So you wanna handle common objections with confidence and evidence. So let's say they have a concern about productivity, right? This is how you respond. You say, I completely understand the importance of maintaining productivity. In my previous remote work experiences, I've consistently met and even exceeded project deadlines. I propose implementing a trial period to demonstrate the positive impact on my performance. So I'm gonna get into this a little bit more in depth in the Tim Ferriss Trick module later on, but there are actual measurable ways to show productivity. And this response right here nips that concern about productivity right in the bud. Now, say your boss has a concern or an objection towards communication challenges, right? You could respond by saying, I've thought about how to ensure effective communication while working remotely. I'm committed to using collaboration tools, participating in regular check-ins, and making myself available during core working hours to address any immediate concern. And again, we're gonna incorporate all those elements into our faux PIP so that it's absolutely crystal clear. Now remember that exercise about all those false premises leading to a conclusion that seems sound, but it's not. It's a valid argument, but it's not sound. This is what that's for. So we're going to address common myths and challenges these employers have around remote work, and we're just gonna run right through them, right? So one of them is a concern for the lack of clear remote work policies, right? So we don't have a remote work policy, what are we gonna do? You say, all right, well, let's initiate a conversation with HR, which you're gonna do before you approach your employer, or management to clarify existing policies or propose creating a clear framework for remote work eligibility and expectations. I do this for you. I do all of that for you so that when it comes up, you say, oh yeah, by the way, this has been greenlit by HR and X and Y manager. This is what I proposed. They like it and actually delivers results. Boom, your objection has been handled, right? Another one could be something of a concern about team collaboration. And so you could say, I'm proposing these strategies for maintaining effective collaboration, such as regular virtual team meetings, using collaboration tools, and ensuring consistent communication channels. Say they have a concern about security and confidentiality. You could say, all right, well, let's address the security concerns by outlining specific measures I will take to ensure the secure handling of sensitive information, such as using secure networks and encrypted communication tools. Boom, like objection handled. What could they say about that, right? Now, this is one of the bigger concerns a lot of boomers and Gen X's have about remote work is a perceived decrease in accountability. So you're gonna address that right there directly to them. And you're gonna say, here is a plan for accountability, including clear performance metrics, regular check-ins, and transparent reporting on project progress to alleviate concerns about a perceived decrease in accountability. That is the faux PIP. That is the faux PIP. The faux PIP is a catch-all for all these concerns, right? Something that needs to be addressed when you're doing the pitch is exactly how you talk to people, right? These are your higher-ups. So you need to have respect first and foremost, but also you need to have the emotional intelligence, the EQ, to understand that they're gonna give you feedback. And by nature, they're gonna give you pushback. So this is how you handle that pushback. You're gonna acknowledge their concerns. You're actually gonna take what they say and digest it. These are legitimate concerns. They built this business, right? Or if it's a massive corporation, they're handling all the risk for that location, right? That's something you're not doing. And as a business owner myself, I can tell you right now, like, it's a lot of stress. I used to think that getting paid as a manager or as a CEO meant that you have a bunch of perks. Yes, that's kind of true, but that's not where the money ties in. Your money, your salary in the corporate world is tied to the amount of risk you take. Meaning, if your team shits the bed, right, and the client is upset, you lose that account, the hammer is gonna fall on management, not the workforce, right? That is why management and the higher ups get paid more, because they are the ones who have to eat shit, right? So keep that in mind. Have a lot of respect for these people. Acknowledge their concerns. These are legitimate concerns because they're not thinking just about you and your happiness, which is cool, this is great, but you actually have to think about the firm's best interest and digest what they're saying to you. Actually digest what they're saying to you. The second thing is that you are gonna have a bunch of evidence and data to support you. Remote work is not the future, it's the present, it's now, right? They're getting access to a global, or at least a national talent pool. They're attracting a lot of people, they're reducing churn. It's actually super powerful and in their interest, right? Google, all these tech firms, they're all working remote. There's a bunch of positions that are remote work only, right? Show them the evidence, help them, right? A lot of these business owners, this shocked me. Most of the money today is still in the hands of boomers. Like, boomers are running the world still today, right? It's not a bad thing, it's not a complaint. It's just how it is. You need to introduce them to Slack. You need to introduce them to different tools. You're gonna introduce them to the evidence that remote work is here and now, right? Now, the third thing, I would make this a little caveat actually, is to propose a trial period. Now, this is something that I would not propose unless they bring it up first, right? Because I raw dogged it, right? I just cold turkey, I said, hey, this is what's happening. I did the faux PIP, right? I had the relationship top down, but I managed to do it without a trial period. Now, some other people that I've helped, they've had to do a trial period, but I would caution you not to bring this up unnecessarily because you want to blow expectations out of the water. I'll show you how to do that with the Tim Ferriss thing, but do not propose this unless absolutely necessary. This should address a lot of really major concerns, but if your pitch is strong enough, which it should be, you should be able to get remote work immediately without a trial period. Now, if you can leverage time and choose the right timing for your pitch, then you're gonna have time pushing you forward. It's gonna be helping you. And when you have time on your side, a lot of things are much easier. So with timing and framing your pitch, when to say your pitch, I always say to initiate the conversation around any positive developments within your company or within yourself. So if there's been a new development that's really positive, really helped the firm, they got voted best place to work or something, use that when the spirits are high to go in and introduce your pitch, right? The second thing to keep in mind is to reveal any covert achievements you've had. Now, what this does is that it shows, again, that you are much more valuable to the firm than they originally thought. Now, what I did is I took an extra long lunch one day and I went across town. I went to McPherson Square in DC and I took an AWS test. I had been secretly studying for the AWS Cloud Practitioner certification and I learned all about cloud computing and I went for lunch and I took this test and I got certified in AWS, Amazon Web Services. Now, I told nobody, right? I sat on that cert for about 2 months and then I realized this is the perfect time to reveal that. Why? Because now I can be like, hey, by the way, I'm an initiator. I take charge. I know that every 6 months there's a new graduating class and that I'm competing with them. I have invested in myself. I invested in my skill set. I am now much more valuable. And it's not just some random certification. It's something that our firm does, right? So I got the AWS cert and I only revealed it as I did my pitch. So the way I studied for my certification is I used Udemy. Coursera is really good too. So rack up some certs. These courses cost like $10, $20 max. And then you have to pay for the exam later on. But you are inflating your CV, your resume, with a bunch of industry recognized certifications. That is gonna make you super valuable in the workplace and it's gonna make your pitch that much stronger. Now, the third thing to keep in mind is that you wanna use constructive language. Now, I've read a ton of negotiation books and the visual that's often said is that you want to sit on the same side of the table and look at the problem shoulder to shoulder. Very similar to sales. a salesman, a good salesman, is actually helping you with the problem, right? Same kind of concept here. You want to use constructive language. If you ever feel them getting defensive, check yourself first. Have I been using accusatory language? Have I been too aggressive? Check yourself first, because you want this to be a win-win. You guys want to help each other. And when you have your boss on your side, and you have timing on your side, and you have results on your side, again, you can only win. But all that goes out the window if you're being an ass. One thing to keep in mind is that even if your CEO wants to help you, they probably want or have to get other people on board, whether it's the board of directors, whether it's other managers, or even other coworkers on your same level. You have to help them by making remote work look like the non-issue it is. This is securing the remote work agreement, okay? Now, the most number of versionings I've seen are 2. It's V1, at most you'll see a V2, right? Now, I want us to have an ego check real quick. If you have to ask for remote work more than 2 times, then it's not going to be given to you, all right? And it most often is because it's too preemptive, it's too immature of an ask, or you just don't have the evidence to support that you will be successful in it, right? I can do everything I can to put you in the best situation possible, but if it doesn't happen, I'm here to tell you that it just won't happen, right? And so then we can talk about refunding and all that stuff. And so what I do is to put you in the best situation possible to get that yes. Here's the truth. I don't want your money. I just want to help liberate as many people as possible. So I'm going to help you as much as I can to get you that remote work, that remote freedom, that location freedom. But I don't want you to hurt yourself. I don't want you to hurt your career goals. And if you have to ask more than 2 times, don't, right? So at most I've seen V2. If remote work is really important to you, just understand that, all right, if they're not willing to give it to you, even if you are a really good employee, then you need to look at other places. If it's really important to you, there are a bunch of places offering remote work, and I'm willing to help you with that too. All right, so now we're here, right? We have the market research, we have the industry research, we have all the evidence and data to back up our claims. We've successfully sat down with the decision maker and negotiated and agreed upon remote work plan. So this is what it's gonna look like. You're gonna get that into writing as soon as possible. How soon? Within 24 hours. This is crucial. You need to have the remote work agreement written down and sent into your boss's inbox within 24 hours. That is non-negotiable. You need to do that fast, right? Success loves speed. So what does V1 look like? V1 is gonna include the written support from your managers, right? Everyone who has shown support. If you can get it from your CEO too, or for like the final decision maker, the leadership, get that written in your inbox or in text form, somehow get it written and have that. Also, you're gonna include all the case studies and the data that we've shown that remote work is possible, not just for your role, but your industry. We're gonna have all that included. We're gonna have the faux PIP included as well. This is gonna be a PDF. This is gonna be in the email body as well. All these could be PDFs, but this is the only one that really should be a PDF. And so you're gonna include all this in an email, right? And you're gonna send this here into the V1 remote work agreement. The comms plan, the communications plan, this is showing your cadence of how often you're gonna stay in touch with management. Let's be honest, it's a bit tedious to like keep in track, but if you have any comms details within your faux PIP, then you have to honor it. But if you wanna really push the sell in the in-person pitch, you can talk about a comms plan, but when it comes to actually putting it into writing, be a little bit lenient with yourself, because if you start failing even like a little bit, or if management just is on your bad side and you're like, oh, you promised us 20 checkups this week and you only did 18, you're out. Like, be careful with what you put in a comms plan, but if you do need that final push to really sell it, include a comms plan. And so all that is gonna go into V1. V1 is gonna be in the inbox within 24 hours, and then I'm telling you, you're gonna ride that momentum, they're gonna sign it off. I would use PandaDoc. And you know what, I'll help you out with that. I'll create some templates. All right, and so with that, you'll have V1 ready. Hopefully we don't get into V2, but if we do, we can use their feedback, loop it into the faux PIP, into the new remote work agreement, and have that signed off. It's just that simple. Now, it's very likely you've heard of Tim Ferriss. He's the author of The 4-Hour Workweek, an amazing book he wrote in 2007, I believe. When I read that book, that completely changed my life. Within that month is when I asked my boss to work remote. It's one of the best books ever. In fact, in the bonus section of this Discord group, you can have an absolutely free gander at all the notes I've taken of all the books I've read. There's over 30 titles in there of all business and nonfiction self-help books. The 4-Hour Workweek is in there. Anyways, in that book, Tim Ferriss talks about There's one trick you can do to successfully get remote work, right? It worked in 2007. It worked for me in 2020. It's going to work for you. So this is your percent of productivity, of how productive you are as an employee, right? And this is time. Most people tend to be around here, right? Above 80%. They don't want to get fired. They're producing a little bit, but they're right here, right? This actually only works if you're in good standing at your company, by the way. So you got to be producing, right? Somewhere around there. All right, so you start working with us. We're going to gather all that market research, all that industry research, and you're still going to be producing, right? You're going to be here. Now, we're going to get those case studies. We're going to get everything built, right? And about 2 to 4 weeks, I prefer to do it 4 weeks before your main pitch, I want you to lower your productivity. Lower your productivity about 20%. Like, make it noticeable enough, but not really bad where you're like, oh my gosh, like you are costing us too much. 20% is about the magic number. You want to reduce your efficiency about 20%, right? What's going to happen is we're going to be creating the best faux PIP in the world. Everything's going to be solid. So when you get approval, they are going to be remembering this version of you, right? This is too recent. And there won't be enough time for recency bias to kick in. They will remember this. So what happens now is you get the remote work agreement. So this is V1, like you were approved to work remote. This is when you start working with us at CNA, right? Well, technically you start working with us here, and this is when we say, all right, start slowing it down. So you get approved to work remote. Fantastic. What are you gonna do? You are going to take that newfound opportunity that you're no longer losing time commuting, you're no longer stressed about staying in an office, and your productivity is going to skyrocket, right? This is what you're going to show. It is not a 20% increase back to where you were. It's going to be a 40+% increase in productivity. You're going to be producing at 120% of what you typically did. So this difference here is what makes this powerful. This is what Tim Ferriss talks about. You want to reduce your productivity just so you can meet it and exceed it. So that is going to show direct evidence proof that, hey, remote work has helped me. Because even if you didn't take the dip, you still have a 20% increase. And you should, honestly. You're much happier. You're no longer in commuting. This is one of the best ways to show the impact of remote work on your output. It's basically going to give your boss the opposite of buyer's remorse. For instance, for some of you guys who bought something really high ticket, those first few minutes after you click send and purchase, you're a bit like remorseful. You're like, oh no, what have I done? Oh, that's a lot of money. I haven't gotten an email yet, or haven't gotten a download yet. Was that the right choice? That's buyer's remorse, right? So as soon as you pull the trigger on remote work, your boss is going to feel a little bit of buyer's remorse, maybe. This addresses that immediately. This is going to show them immediately, wow, Mateo's having such a productive week. These metrics are insane. The client's so happy. I've never seen him respond to all my pings so fast. That is going to show a not just a 20% increase, but rather a 40% increase. So that is the Tim Ferriss trick. It is super powerful if you use it right. Don't abuse it. If you go super low, that's only going to hurt you. You're not going to be in a position to ask for anything. 20% is a good amount, right? So how do you measure 20%? Look at all your deliverables, your click-through rate, your closes. Look at all the stuff that is actually measurable and reduce it 20%. But only reduce the metrics that you know you can explode later on. If you're already struggling with a certain metric, don't play with that. Play with the ones that you can play with. So that is the Tim Ferriss trick. This is all about optimizing your time when you're remote. So some key things to consider when you're choosing your base is time zones, right? Let's arbitrage the time zones. And it's all about your personality, right? So not only does every city attract a certain type of person and a type of personality and characteristics, keep that in mind, but also the time of day you wake up, because more than likely, you will not be able to flex your hours. What does flexing hours means? That means that if your base is in the East Coast and you want to go to San Diego, for instance, you can work at 9 to 5 West Coast time, right? That's called flexing your hours. Most offices, most firms I've seen, they don't allow that, especially if you have to hold on to certain accounts and certain clients. They won't allow that. My clients never allowed that, so keep that with a grain of salt. Meaning, if your office and your working hours are here and you decide to live west to where you work, you are going to wake up earlier, right? This means that your day is going to start earlier. However, you're also going to end it earlier. So when I lived in Denver, I worked from 7 till 3 right? And that was awesome. That was fantastic. I had my afternoon free, my evenings free. I explored national parks. It was perfect, right? Here's the thing though. The next year, 2021, I used the exact same framework to negotiate successfully again for remote work, this time from Hawaii. Now, Hawaii is way over here, very west of the East Coast, right? My client did not want me to flex my hours. Very few people knew I was living in Hawaii, by the way. It was just a need to know basis, right? So anyways, in Hawaii though, there's a much longer time zone difference. And so 9 a.m. East Coast was 3 a.m. Hawaii time. So every single day in 2021, I was waking up at 2:55 every morning. And I never complained because I was in Hawaii. This is what I wanted, right? I just adjusted. I had to go to sleep earlier, whatever. But you just keep that in mind. So if you're gonna live west to where you work, your days are gonna be much earlier, okay? Conversely, if you're gonna go east of where you work, you're going to have a much later shift in your day, in your hours. So if you are more of a night person, this is more for you. You can have your mornings to yourself. If you are a morning person, you can do your own thing in the mornings, but you're gonna have to stay up late because you have to honor your base hours, right? So the city has a personality, that's one thing. The other thing is the time zone arbitrage you're gonna have to do. Just keep that in mind. A lot of people, they rush into things without really thinking about it. Now, one more thing about choosing your base is to look at the co-working spaces. There's a bunch of really cool collaboration spaces out there, and this is the time to collaborate with people. Again, I'm gonna emphasize that in our Discord channel, you can choose your geolocation. You can choose multiple geolocations if you're a frequent traveler, and you can talk to other CNA members who are in those locations. We can do meetups, and then also you can do the same thing within your industry. So if you're in tech, or if you're in consulting, you can talk to other tech people who are also in Europe or Africa or North America, right? So that is the power of location freedom. You can completely change your life, the start of your day, the end of your day. It's a super powerful tool, and I'm here to help you get there. Now, throughout the Discord and maybe throughout my Instagram page, you're gonna see something known as DNA. That was the original version of this, which was the Digital Nomad Accelerator. And this was the old logo, right? It looks like a DNA strand, Digital Nomad Accelerator. But also here's the little N kind of, right? This is the D, the A. I thought it was kind of clever. But this is something that I came up with known as the remote helix framework, right? The idea was that when you start, particularly you guys, the corporate people, this is your salary, right? This is your corporate salary. It goes like this, right? And this is time, this is money. Ideally, what we want to happen is for you to use this extra time you have digitally, so you're no longer commuting, you can work anywhere you want, right? To really leverage and maximize your digital presence. So I talked about this before, but there are 8 billion people in the world now, as of last year, and it is my hypothesis that there are going to be 8 billion businesses soon. What do I mean? I mean everyone is going to soon have to freelance their skills. If you're the best in the world at something, you are going to be discovered thanks to the internet, and you're going to be making the respective amount of money because of it. And that's a good thing, right? The internet is the great equalizer, right? So with that, you need to treat social media and all these digital type spaces with respect, because the best dating app in the world is Instagram. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. I am a millennial, right? I was born in 1995. Meaning I remember when the internet phones came out. I had a Motorola Razr. I pressed the internet button by accident. I was freaking out. Oh, there's gonna be so much money for this luxury. I had an internet-free childhood, so I understand the shock that is all these apps and all this stuff. I truly understand. However, they are tools, right? You have to be able to manage them and leverage them for the betterment of your life and the people around you. All that to say, your social media is your digital business card. It really is. If you have a clean mission statement, if you have a clean aesthetics, if you show what your mission is, who you serve, all that stuff, you make it very clear, then leads are gonna fly in. People are gonna wanna do business with you. You make it very clear who you are. It's basically like LinkedIn, but it's a much more favorable algorithm, right? So everyone's on Instagram. It's really, really powerful. It's also a CRM in and of itself. So no longer do you have to push people out and like bring them to an email list and like start pitching and nurturing them there. You find someone who's interested in your stuff and you can just call them from Instagram. You can send voice memos. Really powerful tool. All that to say, is that this is your salary, right? This is your corporate salary and it's fixed. You have a ceiling on your salary, right? When you start being remote, I want you to consider building a digital offer, right? Start making digital money, because what happens? You're gonna slowly start with obviously making less than you do at your salary, right? And that's natural. And you're gonna get better and better at it. There's gonna be an inflection point where you are going to start earning more digitally than you are at your salary. The rest is up to you. If you want to keep the security of having a salary come in every 2 weeks, then you can hold on to your job while also having a digital offer bringing in money. That's awesome. You can do that. Or some people use this opportunity to completely get rid of their salary altogether and just let the digital offers scale into infinity, because this has no ceiling, right? Digital offers are evergreen, right? You create a sales funnel, a marketing funnel, a website, and it's selling for you in your sleep, right? So this is something that I want everyone to consider, because as we were talking about earlier, those 3 freedoms, right? The time freedom and the financial freedom. There is no workaround. There has to be a digital presence for you to really make financial freedom happen. The only way is to stop leveraging your time for money and also bring in even more money by serving as many people as possible. Thankfully, you and I have access to that type of opportunity thanks to the internet. So we're gonna talk about personal branding. It's in the bonus content section here. I have a bunch of people who are very influential in the social media space and also in the business space. I have my podcast where I talk to a bunch of business owners. It's the Plus Ultra podcast, shameless plug. But I really want people to see the powerhouse that is online business, because I'm here to serve corporate people. I'm not gonna forget where I came from. This is where I came from. But I'm gonna help you get remote situations sorted out. But please do a favor for yourself and explore making digital money. This is life-changing, okay? And it's gonna work like this. There's gonna be an inflection point. For some people, it happens within a few weeks. Most people, it happens for a few years. But 90 days of putting your head down and really grinding at something, beautiful things happen, right? So this is separate. This is what I used to offer in my Greater Digital Nomad Accelerator course. But I am only focusing on the corporate people for now. And I thank you for your time. Thank you for letting me do work I find meaningful. If you have any questions at all, reach out to me on Instagram. I'm at Mateo. If you have anyone you know, a coworker, a friend, a family member who is corporate and wants to achieve location freedom, please send them the invite link to this Discord. There's a bunch of free resources here. Again, I don't want your money, but if you do want to work with me one-on-one and have me look at your scenario, want me to create custom emails and custom phone scripts and have a customized approach for your situation, your industry, then reach out to me, send me a DM on Instagram or a DM here in Discord, and my team will reach out to you. We'll see if we can actually help you. That's first and foremost. I want to actually be able to help you. If I can't, I'll just tell you, I'll just let you know. And yeah, we'll have a conversation started. In the meantime, connect with the fellow CNA members here. I hope you enjoy all the content that's here. I hope you can travel abroad. I hope you can travel within your country. And I hope you can make the best of your location and your time and your financial resources when it comes to that. So thank you again. My name is Mateo. Any questions, please let me know. God bless.